Hi, I'm Boba, and in this video I am going to show you how you can make your very own merge game, in which you are going to merge small cubes into bigger cubes. First, you want to create your cube. I chose this free mesh from the toolbox, but you can use anything you like. First, you are going to want a model, and in that model have your mesh part, which is going to be the cube. Now, we're going to change some settings of the part. First, change collision fidelity to precise, convex, vector, thing. Yeah, I don't know why it's called that. But you're also going to want to be massless. That's very important. And you want to enable custom physical properties. In custom physical properties, don't change density, elasticity, or elasticity weight, but set friction to 0 and friction weight to something like 20. If it's more, it's going to be a bit more slippery, but you can do that for the higher cubes. Then you're also going to want a drag detector with the default settings. We are also going to need a surface GUI, a frame, a text label, and maybe a UI stroke to get that outline around the number. And this setup will allow you to see the value of the cube while you're playing the game. You are also going to need a configuration, and I just renamed it to config, and a number value to store the value of the cube. Now I have created a bit more cubes, and I'm going to show you how you can create more cubes of your own. Take the highest cube you have and move it to the side a bit, scale it up a bit, however you want. You can change it by half a stud, by a stud, it doesn't really matter. Then you're also going to want to change the name. This is very important. And I had cube 9 and I renamed it to cube 10, and I also changed the color. But oh no, let's say now you've got a lot of cubes and you don't want to go manually into each cube and change the value to be 2 and the text label to say 2. So we're going to create a script to automate that for us, so we don't have to do a lot of manual work. To automate this process, first you're going to create a script in workspace and you need to disable it. That is very important. So enable property to off, and you can also rename it to something like command bar. We can also delete the print hello world, and we also need to group all the cubes. So you need to select them all, and then we need to group them in a folder. I am also going to rename the folder to cubes, and I'm going to start scripting. So now I'm actually going to explain to you what this script does. First we have the for loop, which just does something to every cube inside the cube's folder. Then we have the value, which is the cube's value, and the text label, which is the cube's text label, and the cube value, which is going to be the actual value. So cube 1 will have a value of 1, cube 2 a value of 2, and so on. And string.sub allows us to do that very easily with the name. Since we have cube 1, we can skip the first 4 characters and write there a 5. So it's going to start at 5, and we have cube 1, so it's going to start at 1 and it's going to see that the value is 1. Then we're going to set the value to the cube's value and the text label text to the cube's value. Also, all the scripts I created in this video will be available in the description, but just make sure to change the variable names to their correct names so you don't have any errors. So now, after you wrote the script in there, you can just paste it in the run a command bar at the bottom of the screen and click enter, and all the values will automatically be put there. And make sure to not delete that script, because if in the future you want to add more cubes, you can just move the folder into workspace and run the script again as many times as you need to. And now that the cubes are done, I'm also going to show you how they work for me. And you can push them around, you can drag them with the drag detectors. And if, for example, the biggest cube you have is extremely hard to push, remember you can always change the friction weight in that specific cube to make it way easier to push. And now we're going to work on making the merging work. So we're going to take the cubes folder and move it into replicated storage. After that, we are going to create a script in server script service and rename it to setup script, for example. And in that setup script, we are going to create another script and name it something like merge script. And now this part is also very important, and you need to disable the merge script. And now we're going to write the first script into setup script, but be careful to not write it into merge script. And now I'm going to tell you what the script actually does. So the first part is pretty much the same. You just take all the cubes, but this time from replicated storage. You check if the cubes are a model, and if they are, you are going to create a clone of the merge script, and you're going to parent it to the cube and enable it. So now, because we have a merge script into each and every one of the cubes, if we write, for example, to print in which cube it is going to say in which cube it is. So now, if we click run and go into the server view, we can see that every cube has the merge script inside of them. Cube 1 has it, cube 3 has it, and every cube has it. And if we move the cubes folder into workspace, all the scripts are going to start running, and they are going to say, I'm in cube 1, I'm in cube 2, I'm in cube 3, I'm in cube 10, and so on. So now let's actually start working on the merge script. We can delete that print statement if you wrote it, and yeah, let's begin coding. Now, since this is a longer script, I'm just going to tell you a summary of what it actually does. First, we have some variables like the model, the value, and the actual cube, and then it checks when it touches something, and if it touches another cube, it checks if that cube has the same value, and if they have the same value, they find another cube in replicated storage that has a value of +1. So basically, just if two cubes of 1 touch each other, they find in replicated storage a cube with the value of 2, and then they clone it, put it into workspace, and the cubes get destroyed. Here I just clicked run and cloned the cubes folder and put it into workspace, and after I cloned the first cube again, you can see that they successfully merged. And then I can push the 2 cubes, the 4 cubes, the 3 cubes, and they get merged, and you can still drag them and all the cubes work. And since this is a modular script, it will work with way more than 10 cubes, and it can work to be about infinite. As you can see here, I made this small map which is 150 by 150, and I also added some flowers which are collisionless, and I also added some big borders around the map, since if the players get a really big cube, you wouldn't want it to fall off the map and then the players leaving, since they get bad, like, oh no, we got a cube which is the size 100 and then we lost it since it fell off the map. And I also added this fence. Now we also need to make it so that cubes spawn naturally, so what I recommend doing is just cloning the base plate, making it a bit smaller, turning off collisions and making it invisible, and name it something like spawn area in workspace, so that cubes can spawn there and players have actually something to do. Now just create another script in server script service so it can spawn the cubes, name it something like cube spawner script, and let's begin scripting. Now what the script is actually doing is, first it defines the spawn area, and every 7.5 to 20 seconds it generates a random position inside that part and it takes a roll. Then we have a function to spawn the cubes, which just clones the cube from replicated storage and puts it into workspace at the random position. And then if the roll is smaller than 5, so a 5% chance, it spawns cube 3. If the roll is smaller than 20, a 15% chance, it spawns the cube 2, and anything else, it just spawns the normal cube. And also remember that you can change the values like the timer and the roll chances to whatever you like, since it's your game after all. Now the game is actually done and all the cubes spawn, you can merge them, and yeah, this is it. You can have a cube of 2, a cube of 3, and if you merge 2 2s, you get a 3, and 2 3s, you get a 4, and so on until you get to the max cube in replicated storage. And let me know if you do actually end up finishing this tutorial and making your very own merge game. The link to this game is going to be in the description, along the link to my Roblox group. But yeah, this is actually going to be the end of this video, so if you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe.